Hi, this is a short note about normalized frequency in corpus linguistics, and this video is a follow-up on our previous lecture in English lexicology and lexicography when we explore the list as well as chart features of COCA, Corpus of Contemporary American English. So, for the list feature, what we did is that we explore basic distributional data in corpus linguistics. One of the basic distributional data in corpus linguistics, namely finding out the absolute or raw frequency of some linguistic phenomena. So we use words as our practice. So we find out how many times does chimney occur in COCA as a whole, as well as how many times do these other four words occur in COCA as a whole. And in this screenshot, we see the column with frag label. So those values inside this column are the absolute or raw frequency of these words in COCA. And we see that wall is the most frequent in comparison to the other four words in COCA as a whole. And we also explored another distributional data in corpus linguistics, namely a frequency of these words across different parts of COCA, within different sections of COCA, namely within the genre sections, across genre, frequency of a word across genre, as well as the frequency of the word across different period of COCA. And we see that in the first row here, the frag is the absolute and raw frequency of, I think this one is for chimney. And then you ask about this per mil. So that's why this video comes up. Per mil here is the normalized frequency. And this video will talk about that. Yeah. So what we did in the chart feature is we compare frequency across different sections of a corpus. And when we do this, when we compare frequency of linguistic phenomena across different sections or parts of a corpus or across different corpus as well, we need to make sure that the counts are comparable. Okay. And if you found out that the section or parts within corpus do not have the same size as measured in terms of the number of words, it is not possible for us to directly use and compare the absolute frequency of the linguistic phenomena across these different parts of the corpus. We see that here, this row, words M, this indicates the size, the length, the size of the parts of the corpus, the size of each of this section, as well as the size of each of these periods. We see that the size is not exactly the same, but they are roughly equal, close. And fiction is the least frequent, is the smallest in comparison to the other genre, and then followed by academic text. So we don't have equal size of the sections that we compare, and we cannot use this raw absolute frequency for this comparison. So that's why there is this per mil words, per mil values here, and that is the normalized frequency. Yeah, what is normalizing frequency? It is a way to adjust raw frequency from texts that have different lengths so that this value, this frequency, can be compared more accurately. And this chapter from Biber et al. Has been available on OASA. And then the result of this adjusting the raw frequency, the result of these normalizations are often called by the name of normalized frequency, relative frequency, or frequency per n words. The one that we see in COCA before is frequency per 1 million words. Here is some example to illustrate the logic of normalizing frequency. Imagine you analyze two genres of text within a corpus, and you compare section of a corpus, and you focus on modal verbs, and you found that there are 20 modal verbs in text 1 and text 2 that you compare. So they have the same frequency. The modal verbs occur with the same number. And with this finding, you might be tempted to conclude that, well, modal verbs are equally common, or they are equally frequent in these two texts. But then you found out that text 1 is 750 word long, while text 2 is 1200 word long. In this case, your conclusion about equal frequency could be misleading. It could be wrong because there will be more opportunity for you to find modal verbs to occur in text number 2 simply because text number 2 is longer or larger in size. Yeah, so absolute frequency will be dependent uh, on the size of the corpus. Okay, in that way, by simply comparing the raw absolute frequency will not give you an accurate account of the proportion, the relative frequency of these modal verbs in these two genres of text. In other words, your comparison will not be meaningful if you only take into account the raw frequency because the texts have different size. So that's why in corpus linguistics, normalization is central in any corpus linguistic study. And when you do normalization, you take into account the number or the size of the section that you compare. So in our case with COCA, they take into account the size of each genre of COCA for creating normalized frequency. And the exact calculation is this. So you have the absolute frequency of the linguistic phenomena for each genre, and you divide that with the size of the genre, the size of the corpus sections, and the result is then multiplied by the base number that you use for normalizations. Okay. In our example that I took from Biber and colleagues chapter, the base number for normalization is 1,000 words. Why? Because, well, 1,200 words and 750 words are close to 1,000. So you use a base number, you choose a base number for normalization that is close to the size of the section of the genres that you compare. Okay, and here is the calculation. So you divide the absolute frequency of the phenomenon, in this case the 20 occurrences of modals in text 1, divide that with the size of the section, namely the size of text 1, 750 words, and multiply that with 1,000, the base number for normalizations, and you get this normalized frequency. Okay, you do the same for modal verbs in text number 2. And if we use this normalized frequency, which is a more meaningful values to compare, your conclusion about equal frequency of modal verbs here is turning out to be misleading. Yeah, the modal verbs are not relatively equal in their frequency. You find more modal verbs in text number 1, relatively speaking, and less or fewer modal verbs in text number 2. Yeah, so you find 27.5 modal verbs per 1,000 words, and you found 16.7 modal verbs per 1,000 words in text number 2. And this normalized frequency is the ones that we'll use to make comparison. And in COCA, yeah, the base number is 1 million words. Yeah, and so that's why they put the absolute frequency here, as well as the size of the parts of COCA, the size of each genre as well as its periods in COCA. And you have this normalized frequency per 1 million words in this row. Okay, and you use that as basis for comparison. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. And I hope you can get it. If you don't, please email me or ask me through WhatsApp, and I will try to answer your questions. All right, have a good day and see you soon.